welcome to another Frog Wrestling Pond News Update. I'm your host, John Jagger. These headphones, they ain't even plugged in. It's been a crazy week. It's been a great time. I actually think that last week's Frog Wrestling was one of the best ones we had ever done. And it was kind of unexpected. You know, there were little issues with the setup of some of the matches, and they wound up being great. And so I got some news for you, some behind the scenes news for you. But I also have some story recap news that we're going to do. And then, of course, we're going to tease what's coming up this week. So let's get right into it because we got lots to talk about. Number one thing I want to talk about is we have a new wrestler that's going to be joining pretty soon. I'm going to say probably within the next month or so. Kind of depends. It is Geek Jock, a.k.a. Dan the Tabletop Man. You may know him from the morning stream. He does segments there. And normally I don't tell you when a new wrestler is getting added. I just don't. I like it to be a surprise. Usually there's a mysterious match of some kind and they show up. The reason I'm letting everybody know that Dan is going to be joining is because another frequently requested thing is people want to know what the process is behind making a character. They want to see it. They want to see it in video form. And I know Dan really well, so he was a great candidate to say, hey, man, I want to add you to this, and I also would very much like you to be the guinea pig for this video that I'm going to be making, which is also why it might take a little longer to make his, because I am going to be doing it as a video of some kind, and we'll see how that manifests. Maybe I stream making him, maybe I just record it like I do this, where it's not an actual stream itself. We're going to have to see. But anyway, Dan is going to be coming along, and he's very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. Spoilers, he's probably going to be a bit of a hockey man. Just the way. You know, sometimes a wrestler's theme just makes itself. In addition to that, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be doing lots of behind-the-scenes stuff. We did have a little oopsie on the last episode because I have too many custom matches. I've made so many just so fast before an episode where I'm just like, okay, we'll just make it real quick. And then it gets saved, and then it's in there, and then I get confused as to which one is which. I'm going to clean it all up. We're going to be cleaning up some stuff about the wrestlers behind the scenes. We're going to be doing some new outfits, some faction changes obviously are coming. We've had some roster shifts, and I think there are more coming. So we're going to be doing all that stuff. It's going to be behind the scenes, and you'll be kind of seeing the results of that for the next couple of weeks. The last bit of news that I want to do for behind the scenes is I teased a while ago that we were going to be doing a viewer Royal Rumble. And the plan is to still have that happen. However, I do want to lean in on my own personal hype and everybody's hype for the actual WWE Royal Rumble. Now, I know a lot of you who watch don't actually watch wrestling. I hear it all the time. I hate wrestling, but I like frog wrestling. It's amazing. But I also know that a lot of you do also like wrestling. And if you're like me, I love the Royal Rumble. Even when I didn't like wrestling, I would watch the Royal Rumble. Now, a lot of times I'd walk away from it unhappy, as we all frequently did. Wrestling's really good right now, so I don't think that will be a problem this year, but we'll see. But there's a lot of hype and a lot of buzz around Royal Rumble season, and that's when I want to do the Royal Rumble and the Viewer Royal Rumble. So that happens in January. So my target is kind of twofold. I would like to do a Viewer Royal Rumble, and the plan right now, subject to change, is that the Viewer Royal Rumble obviously is going to have a buy-in. A light buy-in gets you in the Rumble. A heavy buy-in gets you a full custom character in the Royal Rumble. And whoever wins that, it's all going to be random. So not a lot to say. Everybody's going to be using the same moveset too. Like, it's going to be about as even a field as it can be. And whoever wins that is going to be an entrant in the official Royal Rumble that we do for Frog Wrestling. What that would then mean is that if we get a crazy run where the Viewer Royal Rumble winner goes on to be in the actual Royal Rumble and then wins to challenge Scott for a title match, if they win, they get to be champion. They're going to be on Frog Wrestling for a while. Now, it's a lot of ifs. And if for some reason their storyline is really good, I might say, like, I'll reach out. Hey, do you mind if they keep going? Um, all that being said, that's stuff that we're going to talk more about as we get a little closer to January, when that's going to be happening. I'm figuring out the logistics of it all. I would love to do a women's version too. It comes down to interest. This is what it comes down to. And that's the hard part to gauge, because you don't want to sell something and then find out there wasn't enough interest and then go, oh, what do I do? Because now I've taken money from people for something that I can't supply. So I do have some backup plans for that, because I would like to do both. And we'll just kind of see how that all plays out as we get closer to it. So that's your behind the scenes news. That's what we're looking at. And now let's go ahead and talk some story news as we recap last week in Frog Wrestling. Last week was all about repelling the WWE. Cody Rhodes had a Titan grip on the Dragon Beef Championship. We had Rhea Ripley. She was in challenging for the Women's Championship. We had previously had Dakota Kai in there. Lots of stuff going on. We've officially cleared them out. We've cleaned house. Doesn't mean they're going to be gone forever, but we could have another incursion. You never know. The right wrestler wins a championship. That pride sets in. They just accept challenges. It's a real flaw. We also saw Ben becoming the Dragon Beef champion in that match where he defeated Cody Rhodes and myself, John Jagger. That's me, John, if you didn't know. And he managed to become the Dragon Beef champion. Now, Ben didn't get a chance because he lost the title so quickly to tell everybody what his favorite video game dragon is. For those who don't know, the Dragon Beef is which video game dragon is best. That is literally the beef. So anybody who becomes Dragon Beef champion has to declare who their favorite video game dragon is. And after a bit of soul searching, I'm happy to say Ben's favorite video game dragon is Bahamut from Final Fantasy IV. He's locked it in. Good choice, Ben. A lot better than your first choice. If you want to share that in the chat room one day, you let him know. But he sent me his first choice. I did not approve, but really came around to his second choice. Next, we had Mark Spagnolo going up against Bo Schwartz. Bo debuting his new VR headset, and it was a stomp. Mark was really impressive. Like, I don't want to speak ill of Bo. I think it was really Mark. Just all of a sudden, he got the fire in his belly and his heart. We're gonna have to see if Mark is gonna make a run. Probably gonna see Mark in a fight this week. If I was a betting man, I would bet that we're gonna see if he's gonna keep this going. What's gonna come of it? We also started our women's random match type tournament. So this is a tournament basically for the entire women's division minus those that were involved in the actual title picture. And the match type is randomized. It could be a table match. It could be a ladder match. It could be a cage match. You don't know what you're going to get. I don't know until the match starts. And that also potentially levels the playing field, because you might be an extremely good fighter like Kristen, but maybe you're not particularly good at ladder matches. Well, so far, it's kind of gone predictably. Kristen won her round, Kim won her round, and they're both moving on. They would have been easily the favorites in their two matches. But what this means is that in round 2, we are going to see Kristen versus Kim. So we're not going to be building to that old score to be settled in the championship. That's going to be settled when we get to round 2. So I'm very excited about that. That's going to play out early, and maybe it'll be a stomp for some of the newer talent, but you never know. It does afford an opportunity for someone up and coming to step up and show us what they got. We also saw Garrett versus Patrick, and previously last week we'd seen Kyle Ferguson versus Randy Jordan. Randy took that win for the French Confection. This week, Garrett defeated Patrick. First singles loss for Patrick. where it wasn't involved in some other complicated match. Patrick has been dominant, and he was dominant in this match, but Garrett still managed to pull out a win. That leaves French Confection and GG tied 1-1. Guess what, everybody? This week, we're going to settle the score. One of those two teams is going to come out ahead. We'll talk about that more when we get to what's coming up this week. We also saw another rivalry of groups as Core, that being Scott and Brian Dunaway, went up against the Mod Syndicate, the being Tanner and Tom Merritt. And it was an interesting match. We've already talked about there were some issues with how the match type was set up. We're supposed to be doing all tornado style matches. This wound up being an awesome match, though. It was really, really good. And it turned into a 2-on-1 handicap match of sorts as Scott had to defend against both Tanner and Tom. And Scott managed a victory on this. Despite the odds, he did. And so, while I can't cut to him for comment, I do have a quote that I would like to read from Scott Johnson, our champion. His words now about this match and about all the drama concerning Core recently. I'll just read exactly what he wrote. People complained when I kicked Bo out. And what has he done? Gone 50-50 on revenge matches? Failed to win any titles he's gone after? Now I cut the dead weight of John and Martha, and there's more complaining. John hasn't won a single match. Martha lost her title 2 weeks later and hasn't won since. Are my standards high? Yeah, they always are at the top. Is it unfair that John had to fight in a 2v1 handicap match? It didn't stop me. Core is back open to those good enough to join it. The dead weight is out, and I'll be watching for anyone that wants to step up and do better. So, big words from Scott. Also, sounds like Core might be recruiting. Also confirmed, Martha is now out of Core as well. We didn't know. Presumably, she was going to go with John, but you never know. It's the world of wrestling. They haven't been necessarily tagging together or anything recently, but Martha also out of Core. It means Core currently has two members, that being our Frog Pants champion, Scott Johnson, and Brian Dunaway, who has also been on a bit of a run himself as far as wins. That brings us to what our main event for last week was. It was the Women's Championship match, and we had Jocelyn finally secure her place as Women's Champion, and I think it was really great to see. I don't have a lot extra to say to this. Just a huge congratulations to Jocelyn. Definitely felt like going in, she was a bit of an underdog in the match. Everybody was talking about Martha getting her title back, or Rhea Ripley suddenly taking the title and the WWE having another belt. Nobody was really necessarily expecting Jocelyn to run away with it, and she absolutely did and absolutely earned it, and is now setting up her reign as Frog Women's Champion. I'm really excited for her. But not only that, speaking of Martha, she's back at square one. We are having a women's tournament that's going to kind of establish a pecking order of sorts for the women's division. And because Martha was in the title picture, she's not in that tournament. That means Martha is essentially back at the lowest level of the totem pole, trying to fight her way back. And we're going to have to see if she can scramble, if she can make her way back up. We're going to have to see. So that was what happened last week. Before I go, let me just tease what we're going to be seeing this week on Frog Wrestling, and I hope you look forward to it, and I hope you'll join. We are going to continue the women's random match type tournament. We're going to be, at the very least, concluding the rest of round one, which is 2 more matches. In addition, our main event this week is going to be a tag team title match as Grinding Gear challenges the French Confection to try and take those titles off Randy and Patrick. So far, a monumental task to do, but Garrett and Kyle are quite a tag team. So we're going to have to see. Of course, there will be more than that. Of course, there will be more questions, more answers, more drama. That always happens. That comes with the territory. But that's going to do it for this Pawn News update. I thank you so much for being here. This is a weird little thing we do. Apparently, Monday's the day. I don't know. We're just going to see how that works out for right now. And I appreciate you all being here. Until next time, I'm your host, John Jagger, and I'll catch you all later. Bye now.